Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's Psych Bite. We will be talking with Miguel and April Mansilla. April manages a dual diagnosis of OCD and bipolar, and we're very fortunate today to have them sharing their story of success and how they manage their family and their marriage. So welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I thought we could start off by having you share just a little bit about your family and then your day-to-day life and how that worked prior to knowing that you had a diagnosis.
Family. We have 3 children. They're all grown now. We have a granddaughter, so life is very full and very happy. So
just recently we purchased this home, and it's like a triplex.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has their own kitchen, their own washroom, a door separating them. So one of our daughters has the front half of the house. Our son has the apartment in the back. Then we have the floor basement. So we all get together in this room.
Oh, that's so great. So everyone's there together.
Everybody's together. We've always been a tight-knit family. So that's one of the advantages we had when we were dealing with all this.
Yeah.
That is great. And then a little bit about how life was day to day and what you experienced before you had your diagnosis.
I guess before I was balancing raising the kids and the family and everything, and I knew that I was having mood swings up and down, and I knew something was different, but I didn't really know to the extent of what was going on because there wasn't a whole lot of information besides what was in the movies, media. I wasn't to that extreme, I thought, so I must be okay at that time.
Right, and I came from a Latino family with Italian background, so and both of us were pretty spicy on our own. So
just naturally
on it. So there was a bit of a blur there between whether it was an illness or just a heated discussion or an argument.
Yeah.
But it did get to a point where we both kind of stood back and said, "There's something else on top of our personalities."
Yeah. And what events do you think led up to your diagnosis, or what were you experiencing at the time right before your diagnosis?
Before the diagnosis, I was working a lot on my artwork and selling, doing festivals, all that. I was not eating, not sleeping, just one coffee after another, not looking after myself, and I just crashed.
So there was a lot of swinging between manic and lows, we call it. At that time, we didn't call it depression because we didn't know what it was. She was really hyper, she was really sad. That's how we referred to it, right? And those switches became more and more frequent.
And longer. The duration of mania would last a bit longer, and the moment of depression would last.
And then they started getting higher and lower every time. And then finally, I can't remember the exact year or the day it was.
November 2009.
November 2009.
Yeah.
April remembers.
Yeah.
When she hit, I guess, what we considered to be rock bottom.
Yeah.
So I made dinner for the family that night. And, like you see in the movies, it's this big breakdown. It's this big showbox event. So I thought that's what breakdowns were. So I just made, I think it was like a chicken dinner for the kids and my husband. I was waiting for him to come home. And while we're sitting there eating, I thought, this is it. I don't want to live anymore. I can't go on with all this. I reached a point I know now of psychosis. So I was both psychotic and suicidal. So I was thinking this was the night. And
so I picked up on a few signs from her. Again, I'm not formally trained in any of this now. April got her peer support worker.
Yeah, so very proud.
Very proud of her for
congratulations.
Turning this into a positive. So I looked out for help. We went to the doctors, right?
Yeah, we went to the doctors even before that event. but there wasn't, it was things like, oh, you're young,
Yeah.
you have postpartum. That was a big one, postpartum.
Family, you're busy working, raising a family,
Yeah.
Exactly.
a life, it's chaotic.
Yeah.
It's not like they were being dismissive on purpose. I'm sure they
No.
see thousands of people, and of those thousands, most of them or many of them may show similar symptoms that April was showing, and it was youth or just a stage in their life. But it turned out not to be a stage.
Yeah.
And when you got the diagnosis, what was it at that time?
Yeah, the diagnosis, they first, so I got admitted into the hospital. I actually told Miguel what was going on because I started crying at the dinner table.
Right.
And so I told him what was going on, and I was not safe at home. So we went to the emergency psych hospital in Hamilton here. And that's the next morning, because, you know, it takes a certain amount of time. I think it was like 24 hours before we got even to the ward, where the doctor said you have bipolar 1 and OCD disorder.
For me, I can't speak for April, but it was one of the most, I don't want to say terrifying, but it was a very scary moment and helplessness for me, because when you care about somebody as much as you do, and it's not like a child where you put a Band-Aid on a scratched knee and it's okay.
And it's a scary seeing your wife, I'm sure, and
for sure,
and so much suffering. It's got to be awful for you. And
it was overwhelming.
Yeah, both of you. How you felt about your diagnosis, and at first, how did it affect your marriage?
Well, first we were thinking about the kids. That was always the first thing that we thought about. How do we lessen the impact to the kids? And they were young, right?
Yeah.
2009.
Yeah, because when you tell the kids you're going into a hospital, to tell them you're going into a mental hospital, like, how does a kid even begin to understand that? And from their point of view, they see that's their mother. They don't see anything, wrong. So
I mean, they saw the mood swings. They saw the challenges we were going through, and it wasn't one of those back and forth argument things that we had. I knew there wasn't something more going on than attitude or anything, whatever they wanted to classify back then. But with the kids,
regular family dynamics, and
and so what we've done since and always have done is kept open communication with them. Like, so we explained everything what was going on. Mm-hmm. Maybe not all the details of the thoughts or that April had, because we just gave them what they.
Right, you want to protect them from.
Right, what we thought they could handle as far as understanding at their age what they can understand and process. But as far as how we got along, we've 24 years now, and so there was some challenges. We had a lot of plastic forks and knives and dishes over the years. It was a lot safer for me. So, but I think there was some relief, right?
There's some relief that there's finally
a
diagnosis, something tangible.
And the beginning of some help and some treatment and some therapy. Right.
Because as soon as they told us, again, we didn't understand exactly what it was that they diagnosed her with, but it was something. And usually when it's something, that means that there is possibility of recovering from that something. Before the hospital, we had no idea what was going on, and how to fix or even start to fix it.
Miguel, can you scoot a little closer to your left?
Scooch.
What do you think were some of the biggest challenges when you were trying to acknowledge and accept the illness and then start on your management plan?
It was acknowledging that not every medication was going to work. So I went through quite a few medications, and each time I would get built up saying, oh, this is great, it's going to work, and then it wouldn't, and I'd be back in the hospital. So that pattern was a 5-year pattern. So that was very difficult.
Even accepting that you were ill.
Accepting that I was saying to myself, I'm a bipolar 1 OCD mess. Not all the other things that I was capable and great at, that I'm a good mother, I'm a good wife, an artist, a friend. I didn't think of any of all those things when I was sick. I just said, I'm bipolar, I'm OCD. That's all I am.
One of the biggest challenges was just keeping her on her meds. Like,
Yeah.
I'd be counting the pills, and she wasn't doing it to be sassy or smart or anything like that. It was just that she just thought she didn't need it, right?
Yeah.
And that they were something you didn't need. So that was a lot of cycles through medications, even the ones that did kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
That was a challenge. And
I
switching.
appreciate you sharing that and just being vulnerable and sharing.
Yes.
That's really common. People do tend to reduce themselves down to a diagnosis and forget about all the great things about who they are. And then we know that medication compliance is always something that has to be considered for a number of reasons. So I'm glad that you persevered and finally
you.
found a good regimen that's working for you. So with that being said, I'd love to hear how you guys are doing now and what are some strategies that you've developed and implement in your marriage and family that are working for you.
Well, I think we didn't stray too far from what we've been doing since day one. Supporting, not being dismissive of one another as far as feelings or thoughts or what's important to us, our goals, at least what we find important.
Mm-hmm.
And you made a lot of changes.
Yeah, made a lot of changes, and humor. We keep the humor about things. We don't make everything so, okay, you can't say this and you can't say that. We make some jokes about.
Now we can. Now we can joke about the plastic forks and the knives and stuff like that, or with the OCD part. One of our stories was that she came home one day with $400 worth of coat hangers, and it was a lot of coat hangers. Right? So instead of me flying off the handle, getting upset, that's one of the stories. There was a lot of purchases, which at that time we didn't understand what it was, but now that we had a little bit of the OCD part of it, she needed to get the coat hanger. She needed to buy this. She needed to buy that.
Which was fueled by the mania.
Yeah, it was fueled by the mania. It wasn't I have to spend money and this and that. It was just that those things were necessary at that moment for her.
Yeah.
What we're doing now is we keep the family together, keep everybody close and tight.
I do have to commend you. Miguel's really good with not bringing up negative aspects in the past that maybe some things that happened during my mania. It could be kind of embarrassing or even for me, like cringeworthy or.
There's nothing to gain and everything to lose doing that. For me to bring it up, it would just be, there's no positive outcome or thinking of that.
You feel a strong sense of protection?
For sure. Sure. Protection. And she, in her way, she's kept me going too. So, I mean, this is a two-way street. It's not just me taking care of her. I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for her either.
Oh, you too.
Well, yeah, I think the one regret that we do, I don't know if it's considered a regret. Maybe
something you would do differently if you knew. Well,
it wasn't us really. It's a lot of stigma that that's involved with it, and a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation out there. So friends and family, and it's always hard for us to talk about because we've distanced ourselves a lot from a lot of our friends and family, unfortunately, because they didn't understand and they continued not to want to understand what this was. It wasn't an attitude. It wasn't childhood fantasies or issues that she was having, personality stuff. It was an actual illness. And
well, I think that's important for you that you mention because that could be a strategy of as hard as it is to separate yourself from negative thoughts you don't understand or aren't going to contribute to your wellness. So thank you for that.
And again, it wasn't that they were being mean about it or anything. It's just that we couldn't afford to try to get them to understand and take care of what we were needed to take care of. And so there was a bit of a rift and distance put between several people, but hopefully we can build that all back up. We needed to strengthen ourselves up before we can take everybody back in.
Right. If you're not healthy and doing well and have stress, that's not beneficial for anyone involved. So.
And I think with the kids, we made the right choice.
I think so. Being honest with them.
Because now they come to us about anything. And we give them the best advice that we can. And I think it's a good example for them to see that we hit quite a few road bumps over the years, right?
And you can break down and get back up.
Yeah.
You're capable of that as a person.
Yeah.
But I think you mentioned earlier stigma, and that's just such a
Yeah.
powerful way to start eroding away at those fabrics of stigma, is just being honest and open and showing, yeah, this is my health condition. Like, one of my children is type 1 diabetic. And I certainly say, don't take your insulin, and it's just, it's part of our bodies. It's our brain that's not working correctly. And that needs to be the message. So.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't know if you mentioned, like, the peer, she received her peer, what's it called?
My peer support worker.
Peer support worker. And then you've done the assist and all that stuff as well. And she's spoken at done a couple little speeches at my work as well. It's predominantly male, the factory that I'm in, the steel mill. So that's a tough crowd when it's the males, to get them to open up. But they have been. I get emails every day. You've had people email just to explain what we did. It's not going to exactly work for them, but it gives them a little bit of a roadmap what to do next.
Right. Well, and it opens the conversation. And again, that's what helps people feel supported and encouraged and inspired. And realizing that there's no need to have stigma around this, that really we all have mental health, whether we have a diagnosis or not. We all have to take care of our mental health, and we talk about everything else, our headache and our stomach ache, and we stubbed our toe, and those types of health situations. So this is just a powerful way to start that conversation.
Yeah, and this one's tough because it's not, you don't have a wrap or a cast on or a sling.
Right.
So people I've had people say to me, well, why don't you just take her out to dinner, go on a vacation? That'll
Send her to a yoga retreat.
And they're saying it with all good intentions. Don't get me wrong. They're not saying it to be ignorant or anything. It's hard for them to understand.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I've had people say, well, just take off, just leave. It's not worth the aggravations and everything. And my answer usually was, what if she had cancer, if your wife had cancer, if she had another sort of illness, you can't just leave. And then I had no intention of wanting to anyway, no matter what. Right. I think we've done the best that we can to make this as everybody understand that you can't get forward with this. You can't keep moving forward. There are a lot of challenges with it, but there's a way. Everything's not going to be perfect. And you deal with stuff every day.
Well, I just thought, like, when in 2015, that was my last hospitalization, I said, I'm just going to take it one day at a time. Just one day, one foot in front of the other. And, and now I'm here. And things are great. So I would have never thought that, because that's another stigma. In 2015, that's when they decided to do ECT treatment.
Okay.
And that's what actually ended the cycle of bipolar depression. So now I'm starting to speak out about that and the stigma.
How many sessions of ECT did you undergo?
I had 16, and Miguel was present in the room during all 16. So
it's not like it is in the movies, but it's pretty close. Like now they sedate you.
Yeah, they sedate you. Yeah.
But still, if you're watching it, there's no amount of sedation I could have taken to watch that. But that seemed to have been the turning point.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I almost wish I had that choice to do it sooner, and I definitely would have taken that. But I was so afraid because they say ECT, and you think, okay, Jack Nicholson, I can't do anymore. They're shocking my brain because they've given up on me. Yeah. So it's the opposite of that.
Yeah, it was tough for you to accept to do that at first, but she trusted in me, and she trusted in her healthcare providers, and she just she just finally gave herself to everyone, the professionals, and said, okay, let's try it your way. My way's not working. Let's try it your way. And it's hard. It's hard.
It is. It's a big decision and a great consideration. And we talked a little bit earlier that, as you mentioned, those the visions that we have of, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Hollywood and people that you see in the news that maybe aren't well, that have come into contact with the law for some reason with a mental illness. And so I really appreciate you guys sharing your story of success.
Thank you.
I think that hope, and people can see, yes, it's a challenge, and I'm sure there are times that are
Still rough. Still
Yeah.
challenging times now.
can move forward, like you said, April, day by day to make it better, and a strong family and life is good. So that's fantastic. Miguel, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about being a caregiver. We know that caregiver burnout is a real thing. I know that you got pretty worn down.
Very worn down.
And if you could just share a little bit about that and the importance of taking care of yourself so that you can help the person that you're supporting.
So in general, the stigma there, or the role play, was usually the man takes care of everything. So that's what was stuck in my head most of the time. You can't, and I know that's not the way it is now, but that's just the default a lot of the times, especially with European backgrounds, Latino backgrounds. So work, take care of the kids, visit her every day in the hospital, because it was, I couldn't even fathom what was going through her mind, or the emotional roller coaster she was going on. Like, she thought we were abandoning her there. So I purposely made sure I was there every day to let her know that that's not the case, because unfortunately there were cases in there that people that were left on their own.
Yeah.
And it still happens now.
So
exactly. So then my turning point, as far as where it got to the point where I had to start taking care of myself a little bit more, was when I smashed the truck. I was just finished visiting her, and I didn't even see the vehicle in front of me. Unfortunately, everybody was okay, but it could have gone a lot worse for everybody. The individual I smashed into, our family. So that day, then I decided I had to slow things down a bit and give myself up to the professionals too, and not always have to be there on every single decision or whatever. Just trust and that they had her best interest in mind. And I focused on the kids and just keeping her comfortable as far as I could, bringing her art supplies or just conversations. I'd grab Wendy's or Harvey's or McDonald's and just sit there and eat that with her without talking about anything heavy, or one day at a time.
Just spending time together in a supportive way.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's
hard for all of us to acknowledge that, like you said, that you need help, and being that not really control, but desire to want to fix everything and be everything, and leaning on your wellness team to fill in some of those gaps. Are there times now where it's hard for you to give yourself permission to stop and take care of yourself? And if so, how do you get over that?
Right now, it's a different life now than it was 10 years ago, let's say. We have a different kind of relationship, different kind of interactions. I love seeing her successes. It validates everything that I did in the past. And it's tough to keep yourself motivated as a caregiver, especially when the progress is very small or not at all, or you're backtracking, and a lot of the times you feel like you failed. So,
which you didn't.
So I'm hoping some of this had to do with me, and it makes me feel, proud, for sure. It's kind of new ground, all this stuff too. It's like,
it is.
Like, we've always known who each other was, but now it's a different kind of relationship, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine it's a lot deeper.
Oh, for sure.
And you have gotten to know each other on a level that maybe you wouldn't have without this health diagnosis. So I appreciate the way that you look at that as an opportunity to grow closer.
Well, you saw everything with new eyes, you were saying, right?
Yeah.
Well, medication and the ECT clicked in.
It was like starting fresh, starting over, because I can't remember a life not feeling that depression or that mania. I don't remember a life before that. So starting from scratch and having the opportunity to build on that and be whatever I want, basically.
Yeah.
So
a little scary at first.
It was.
I'm sure.
But for his sake too, instead of relying on him all the time and sharing all my problems and heaviness with him, I kind of make sure I keep that to the doctors now. Unless it's something that's detrimental that I need to tell him, I keep the conversation between my care team. I think he's gone through enough and he needs a little bit of separation from that, so we can have our own relationship outside of bipolar and mental health.
And that's important. And we've tried to separate things as much as we can, as far as not ignoring the problems or me being ignorant to what she's feeling.
Right.
And we've lightened it up a bit now that we have a lot of things under control. Before it took over 99% of our life.
Yes,
now,
I'm sure it was all consuming at the beginning.
Exactly.
But you have successes, you have a good regimen, you feel confident in your team. I think, thank you for sharing that point. That's really valuable. And, you know, at a certain point, to just keep it with your team. And I'm sure if it affects him or the family, you're going to share with him, but that there's other conversations you can have besides how you're feeling every day, and
exactly.
a great team for that. So, well, is there anything else you would like to share just in general about living with bipolar, marriage with bipolar?
No. Well, what you said before, celebrate the small victories.
Yeah, celebrate. Just anything everything doesn't have to be a big grand show. It's just like we've said in the past, watching a movie where it doesn't turn into an argument, or where she's crying because it's cloudy outside, or you know what I mean? It's just now we just enjoy the sunlight. We enjoy our walks. We enjoy a quiet meal.
Yeah, just small victories, and always hope that there can be more than just your life with bipolar.
Yeah, it didn't define, for a while it defined her and myself.
The whole family, I'm sure, to some
everyone. And now we're just building it. I don't want to say building it back up, because it didn't destroy us, but it did put a big strain on all of us. And we're just enjoying everything to the max that we can. Now we're not thinking too far ahead in the future.
Because
there's still tweaks with medication.
Yeah, there's still tweaks, and you know, not every day is going to be perfect. Right. And I have to think recovery isn't, you know, set in stone. It's always going to kind of go in waves, and I have to remember that and not to get disappointed when I have a bad day or something throws me back. I just have to keep on my routine and keep going.
Right, and we don't put any unrealistic goals in front of either one of us. Like I think we've realized our limitations now, and that's not a bad thing to know your limitations. It actually keeps you.
It's a very healthy thing.
So that's what the manic part of it. She didn't have any limitations, so there were none. So
ergo the several layers of wall paint.
Yes.
Painting a room 5-6 times within a couple of weeks. Yeah, that was, again, it wasn't harming anything, but it was one of the triggers that we knew there was something going on.
I could say, you know, I am very fortunate to be here. I don't want to say lucky. I always hear people say, you know, they were lucky to be in this moment. I feel fortunate because I've worked really hard, and Miguel and my kids and my care team has worked really hard to get me to this point of wellness. So I think
that's a very powerful point as well, that it does take work, just like so many things in life, but it's not just taking a pill or, you know, having one ECG treatment. It's a lifelong management, and it is really hard work, but I can see the benefit brought to the two of you. And again, I'm so thankful that you took the time and sharing your story, and I know that people will get some strength from it. So
we appreciate it. We're doing our best to pay it forward as much as we can. We do a lot of pro bono stuff, kind of thing. Everything we do is pro bono. We talk to everybody at work. We've done a couple little videos here and there, but so it's therapeutic for us to be able to share.
Doing it, it's going to do a lot of good in Canada and in the States, and who knows where else around the world. So thank you again so much, and
thank you.